Okay, do I have any comments on the submission from Bill Kenny?
I'm good.
I have one, and that is that it's only a soils report. It's not an assessment. And it won't tell us how this development will or will not affect the wetlands unless you have Bill online that we can ask him.
He's finishing up a presentation in Greenwich. He'll be on in a few minutes. He can certainly speak to that. He's reviewed the application again, just to, you know, we only have less than 1 acre of activity in the upland area. That area was previously disturbed and paved. I would argue that this application actually is a great improvement over what's out there today, because all you have now is asphalt and uncontrolled debris and material placed without, you know, that hasn't been from previous ownership, that has no water quality measures and has no sedimentation basins or traps, and does not do anything to address the heat island effect of all that asphalt and that increased temperature of the runoff that runs uncontrolled into those wetland areas. Our application is to propose to disturb some upland area, essentially in the limits of the existing disturbance of those upland areas, provide adequate sedimentation and erosion control measures to allow for the site to be filled to accommodate future development.
Well, while we're waiting for Bill, let me ask another question.
Mhm.
How do you intend, or do you intend, to cool the water, the thermally overheated water, from the pad down to the detention basin, down through the pipe into the level spreader, which is also hot? Those are all superheated areas, receiving superheated water.
There's no asphalt proposed as part of this application. There's no superheating of any stormwater. This is water that's landing on earth and essentially stabilized areas in the future.
Yeah, how about in the future?
Well, in the future, we'll deal with that as part of the future application by implementing and providing for, you know, a white membrane roof, which helps with heat absorption rather than heat reflection. We'll have landscaped island parking lots with shade trees to reduce that heat island effect. Well, there are a number of methodologies that will be incorporated as part of a future development application. But this application is only proposing to create essentially, you know, seeded lawn area once the construction activity is completed.
Okay. Do you plan on accessing this back area if this wall is built? If you do, how would you get there?
We would have to provide an access to it just to maintain the basin. So we would provide for an access drive, most likely coming from the northern end of the property and around the lower half of the wall in between our site and 5 Victoria Drive, and then coming in from north to south.
Okay, I appreciate, by the way, the shortening of the outlet pipe and the reduction in LOD. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question while we? It would be helpful to me to see the bigger picture of what is behind that wetland area, just to get it in perspective with the river. Have you got a view of that?
Share our screen.
It says that you're still the presenter. Let's see if I can.
Maybe it's the wrong screen.
Let me change. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, good.
Sure. So as Commissioner Hawley may be aware, 5 Victoria Drive is just to our east.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there is a wetland system essentially that is split between 5 Victoria Drive and our property here. So we have a wetland system here beyond our property on the eastern side. There's actually restored and mitigated wetlands through a turtle pond and such in this area. Then there's an upland area, and then there's a pond, and then the west branch of the pond.
That brings it into perspective. I'm familiar with that now. I can see right where it sits, so. Critical piece of land, though, as a buffer against the river and the other pond. That was my only question.
Anybody else have any other questions while we're waiting for Bill Kenny? Nope. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think even I'm all questioned out. How long do you anticipate the filling and, how long before you anticipate a site plan to emerge?
We're hoping that emerges in the next 6 to 9 months. The length of a fill permit from planning and zoning is essentially a 2-year permit duration. But we hope to be in with the formal site plan application, well before that. Like I said, 6 to 9 months, if not sooner. We actually have a couple of interested parties and a really good team working on with some potential tenants. So hopefully we'll have more further progress. I do think Bill is trying to log in, or will shortly. He just got back in front of his computer, so. Would you like to talk about plantings while we wait for Bill? Plantings around the outlet control pipe and level spreader?
Sure.
I think what we'd probably recommend is maybe we could plant, maybe we were to do 4 trees within that area, kind of surrounding that outlet pipe, and up to the edge of the detention basin on the eastern side. Our landscape architect recommended birch or serviceberry or oak. Maybe we could do 2 birch and 2 serviceberry.
I'm looking for my notes. I have notes around here somewhere.
It's a relatively small area, so I think that would be
It is.
more than adequate.
What size were you recommending?
We would, well, we'd be getting native sizes, so those are generally smaller. But I think we would do, let's see if I can get that from my landscape architect.
How tall does serviceberry get?
– 15 to 25 feet. Sure.
So Kevin, what were those trees again and how many?
Birch and serviceberry.
We had 2 of each,
Okay.
so 4 total.
And don't laugh at me,
Never.
but I was going to recommend using oak as much as you could.
Okay.
The reasoning being, and this is where the laugh part comes in, there is an explosion lately of not newly discovered, but just because of the explosion, it's much more rampant, of something called the jumping worm.
Yes.
And jumping / Asian / crazy / snake. They're devastating forests. They're devastating gardens. I have them in my yard. They're ruining a lot of my plantings. They don't like oak leaves. They do like all forest understory, and that's one of the things I was talking about, or trying to think about, with the bike trail. They're all over the bike trail. And they will completely destroy any underpinnings, everything. So whatever we can plant that they don't like is better.
How about 4 oak trees?
I love it. Go for it.
And I just want to say one more thing while Bill logs on. I know this commission, you aren't trained professionals, and you're volunteers, and you are elected to these positions. And I don't want you to do yourself a disservice by saying, this commission is a very good commission. And Ms. Spence, I just want to say your tenure on this commission is probably gives you more experience and credibility than I would say any other wetlands commissioner I've ever been before in any of the agencies that I've presented to. So I don't want you to, I wanted to make that point because I don't know if a third-party peer review is really going to teach you anything about how to look at this application. For what that's worth.
Wow, that was good. I was wondering where you were going.
I was too.
Welcome
That's kind of,
Mr. Kenny to the team, to the chat.
Penny,
My bedtime alarm just went off.
hang in,
I don't think I want to make it.
very soon.
Go.
There he is. Hi, Bill.
Good evening.
Time to switch gears quickly.
Yes, I was just left a hockey rink proposal in Greenwich in someone's backyard. So,
Jeez.
Oh, there you go.
Nice, all right. Any commissioners have any questions of Bill now that we've dragged him away? Somebody? I know me. Clark or,
Go ahead, please.
Yes.
I'm fine.
well,
We know that you'll ask the questions we want to ask,
oh boy,
but you'll ask them better.
taking lessons from him? Bill, it just, since we don't actually have a written wetland assessment report, we are requesting what you feel will be the impact of this development and the changes being proposed on the wetlands around it.
okay, I'll give you my overall impression. And you're correct, we have not prepared a written report regarding potential impacts or not to the wetland, but we're on site, we flagged the wetlands, and I have taken a look at the drawings. And so first, I think it's talking about existing conditions and then proposed conditions. Certainly the property is a disturbed property, formerly develops quite a bit of existing impervious surface that does extend close to the wetland with fill beyond that to the wetlands edge, particularly in the southeastern corner of the property. So when you combine the amount of existing disturbance and then with the proposal to, for the most part, hold that edge of development by grading up substantially from the existing edge of pavement and then back, and then or vegetating that slope. So essentially widening the vegetated buffer between the wetland and the level area or the future developed footprint. And then when you combine the amount of stormwater management measures that are proposed, I think that this is a good proposal from that perspective, and not something that would change this wetland based on existing conditions and the proposed conditions. And the stormwater basin is in a good location with its discharge in the area of where that existing seep is. So be allowing water back into the ground in that area and to make its way to the wetland for the most part subsurface, and then overflow in more extreme storms.
In your assessment, did you notice a lot of invasives of what is there?
I think particularly in that south, there's some significant piles of fill that where there was vegetation already starting to grow on them in that southeast corner. So there's definitely invasives there.
Can you tell me what they are?
There was, I don't know if I don't have a list in front of me. I wasn't prepared this evening for that, but could certainly get you that.
Is it something that would be advantageous to be removed?
There are certainly some, I'm sure there are some species there that will now, they, with the work that's proposed, within anything within the footprint of the development will be removed and controlled and just through the development. And then between the edge of the development and the property line, or that, I should say, the limit of disturbance, I would focus primarily on vines that are growing that are potentially impacting the trees. I always like to focus primarily on, particularly in a forested area, on the vines, because the greatest keeping a forested buffer is of great value with the shade and so forth. And the vines have a potential to significantly damage that and convert the area over time into a shrubby environment rather than a forested environment. So at a minimum, I would control vines that are posing a threat to the health and well-being of trees in that buffer, both existing trees and any trees that might be planted in the future.
And the applicant's happy to accept the condition to remove invasive species through the area and provide reporting on
Monitoring?
on that. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Does anybody have any other questions for Bill? I guess not. Nope, I guess not. Okay, I have one more for you, Kevin. There's I'm still on 221.
Yep.
There's a large area of what appears to be open area between the 300.5 contour and the LOD. What's going to go in there?
Nothing. So we wanted, as you can see, there's this thicker dashed line which runs through that area. That's the limit of the 100-year floodplain elevation.
Right.
We're trying to avoid placing any fill within that area. So essentially it's going to be, we're not proposing any activity within that.
So why is the LOD so far in?
I think we have to tie in one contour, which actually is I think it's actually removing some of that material. Yes. So it's actually a slight excavation within the 100-year floodplain, really kind of to clear the area out. So it's, so we can actually restore it, and maybe we can add some additional tree plantings in that area.
And so before you plant the trees and stuff, you're going to put conservation mix or something?
Yes.
Is that on the plan anywhere?
Yeah, that's part of the.
Thoughts are?
Yeah, on the plan set.
Okay, but with the understanding that it will be more heavily vegetated and treed when you bring in new site plans?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, certainly.
I don't think I have anything else. See, I'm not impossible to work with. I just make you I put you through your paces.
I didn't say that for my health report. It's true.
Okay, I think I'm done. Does any commissioners have any other questions?
I have no questions.
Okay, I'm going to open it to the public. What, Clark?
No question.
Ross?
Thumbs up.
Okay. Can I open this to the public then? Is there any members of the public in the audience or online that would like to speak in favor of this project? Is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this project? Okay, and any comments of general nature? Seeing none, with consent of the commissioners, we can close the hearing.
Do we
We have to, I'm sorry, we have to read the
Well, I don't even
exhibits.
know, yeah, there's
There are.
not that many. Okay, so exhibit 1 was the town engineer comments by Scott Schatzline. Number 2 was the bond recommendation by Scott Schatzline. Number 3 was the town engineer comments revision 1. Exhibit 4 was a booklet, which was updated engineer memorandum response to town and commission comments by Solely Engineering. Exhibit 5 was a letter of response to town and staff comments by Kevin Solely. And Exhibit 6 was an updated plan set that was titled Excavation Filling Permit Application, 10 and 36 Main Street.
Do you know if all of Scott's comments were,
Yes, they discussed that today, right?
okay,
That was
I know the
yeah.
sedimentation basin, but I was wondering if there were any others
No,
that were
it
still
was-
an issue.
That came up at the end of the day, and Scott and I had discussed that, and I was to reiterate that they were addressed.
Okay, awesome. And then the bond that was mentioned on his report is going to stay, he had
Yes.
corrected the bond recommendation.
So,
Okay. And,
yes, the bond was going to stay. Bond recommendation is $22,000.
okay. Okay. Unless anybody, does the applicant have anything further to say?
That is it. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
So we,
Okay, then we can close the hearing.
okay.
Thank you very much, everybody. Push was in order.
Okay.
All right, so the next we have deliberations
That one, and that's it.
on hearings from tonight. So let me see, this deliberation session on
Only on 10 and 36, because we did.
IWC, I didn't announce this last time, so it was IWC 2021-11. 6 Main Street, excavation and fill application.
So I move that we have the staff put together a motion, a draft motion of approval with the trees and the,
Removal of invasive species? Is that, can we be specific enough?
Yes, that was
Area?
it, as offered.
inclusion of reverse slope benches.
Wait a second. It's 4, it was the 4
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because we got jumping worms now.
trees.
Hey, look them up. You want to see something really scary?
Hey.
Oh, I
You know, when
could-
it's-
Good.
And what,
Tomorrow there'll be something eating the oak trees.
Surprised. These
the
days,
removal of invasive?
yeah,
Yeah, the removal
especially the
of
vines,
invasives.
concentrating on the vines, and monitoring.
Yeah, monitoring is standard, but yeah. And then what did you say about slopes or something?
Reverse slope benches, bench,
8, as in 8 bench, you have to explain more, I don't know how to write that.
including a reverse slope bench. You call me, I'll give you more detail if you want,
Bench, BENCH.
Correct.
on the 2-to-1 slope.
Oh, there was contingent on P and Z approval, yes?
Aren't they contingent on our approval?
Yeah, P and Z is.
They have to have our approval, but their approval is not contingent. Well.
Yeah, they can't do anything without.
But what that would say would be that if P and Z does not approve, our approval does not stand up either.
Yeah, but that's not, they can't do it without P and Z.
Right, they have to
Can't do it
have,
with ours.
yeah, you don't need to make that stipulation.
You don't think so? Okay.
You can always add more
So I have 4
That's true.
oak trees, removal of
Just stuff we could
invasive.
add.
try to get something on paper, so
Okay,
we could think about it.
okay. So do you have those couple?
I have 4, yes. 4 oak trees, removal of invasives, monitoring, and.
And the pre-construction conference.
Yes.
Ow.
So this is a draft approval for next meeting?
Yes, it is.
With these in-person meetings.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Okay,
Like Jim said, we can add more at the next meeting once we
okay,
accept your draft.
all right.
Okay, so
You're done.
do I need a vote on that? On,
You're just instructing me to write the
Okay.
draft.
all right, and then we vote on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So do I hear the famous motion?
I make a motion that we close the meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, closes.
Opposed or abstaining? Crazy people? Motion passes unanimously.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Nice.
All right, everyone.
Good night.
Aye.